Good morning, and thank you for joining Be My Guest Plus this morning with our guest today, Two Rivers City Manager Greg Buckley. And Greg, you had a big city council meeting last night. A lot of things happened. Can you tell us some of the things that went on last night?
Sure. It was council's first regular meeting in November. We talked about a couple of items involving local veterans groups, an effort by members of American Legion Post 165 to place an historic marker at the Woodland Wayside on Memorial Drive, commemorating the history of that highway being designated by action of the county board back in the 1930s as American Legion Memorial Highway, or Memorial Drive. We just refer to it as the Drive or Memorial Drive these days, but indeed in that post-World War I era, there was that effort, which included the planting of over 2,000 elm trees at the time, to make that area a memorial to our veterans and those lost in the war, and specifically cite the American Legion. Of course, the American Legion turned 100 years old this year. Post 165 in Two Rivers is 100 years old. Council and I look forward to cooperating with our local veterans groups in placing an historic marker to basically make people aware of that designation. Council also talked last night about a permission that they gave on October 28 for a local veterans effort headed by retired Major General Tim Zadalis. He's U.S. Air Force retired and returned back to this area to raise money and place a statue commemorating Sergeant Andrew Miller, who was born in Manitowoc, joined the Army out of Two Rivers, left his wife was a widow, they were residing in Two Rivers at the time. He was killed in action in France in World War II, recognized with the Congressional Medal of Honor for his bravery and service to the country, and in fact is buried in an American military cemetery in France. General Zadalis would like to see a permanent statue erected memorializing Andrew Miller, much as the Civil War statue stands in Central Park in front of City Hall today. So those were a couple of updates. We also did I presented an overview of my proposed 2020 city budget. All funds City of Two Rivers about a $30 million annual operation. I would just say real quickly, no tax rate increase proposed for next year. In fact, a small decrease that would amount to about a 1% decrease on the city share of your tax bill. That will be available by the end of this week for review online or in print at the library or City Hall. Budget hearing is November 25th. Council action on the budget will be the first Monday in December. So it was a busy meeting last night. The council also approved resolutions directing staff to begin work on amendment number 2 to our tax incremental district number 8, the old high school. We just recently amended that, but in the process recognized there is more revenue that is available for possible activities in and around that TIF district. They also passed a resolution directing that staff begin work on a possible TID 13, a new tax incremental district that could assist some potential development at the north end of our downtown area of Washington and 22nd Streets. So hopefully that lays the groundwork for some good things to happen as we move forward into 2020.
And speaking of good things happening, our YMCA question of the day is, how is work progressing on the new hotel?
Very well. Just driving by the site today, foundation was poured late last week, so the concrete flat work for the foundation, the footings were poured before that, of course. And today there are masons laying block for the elevator shaft. I know Mike House crews are ready to start framing up, so I'm sure they'd like to get that all closed in as soon as possible because unusually early there's cold winds coming in off the lake. Although it was a beautiful view today with a big lake boat passing out past the pier head. So that's the kind of view that guests at that hotel are going to enjoy. It's coming along very well. Great to see local contractors who also were investors in the project, Maritime Plumbing, Mike Howe Builders, and others out there involved in the project. They still are on target for a planned opening sometime in June of next year. So watch for more details as we get closer. 55 new rooms, a $6.3 million investment in Two Rivers downtown waterfront. That's good stuff. We're excited.
That's good stuff for you. You bet. Well, thank you, Greg. If you missed the program today, feel free to go to WOMTradio.com and go to the podcast section. For Be My Guest Plus, I'm Lee Douglas.